Well, welcome to Safe Boats. Welcome to the virtual tour. I gotta say, it's a little bit disconcerting. I'm just looking at a phone and Kirk's head behind that. Feedback will be interesting nonetheless. I've not done this before, but pretty excited about it. As far as Safe Boats, I think that through the flyer, you can see that Safe Boats has been around for nearly 25 years at this point in time. The tour that we are going to take is going to show you a couple of the boats. One of those you can see behind me. That is the Mark VI. That is the largest boat that Safe Boats has produced and will produce again in the future. We're going to take a look at some of the visual management techniques that we are rolling out here, and then we're going to go right out onto the shop floor. And we'll walk from what we call the integration area, where the boats actually get all of the electronics, the engines put into them. And then we will walk our way backwards through the entire manufacturing process, through where the boats are being welded up, and finish up in the what we call the router area, where we are bringing in raw plate aluminum and cutting those into the pieces, and then the whole process will make sense. We'll end up back here in the office, and we'll have some question and answer. I believe that's how Stacy has structured it, is to hold the questions to the end, and then we can, I'd be happy to answer those questions as best as I can. With that, let's go and take a walk. Okay. As you can see, as we're walking through, these are some of the boats that Safe Boats has produced in the past. They're actively being used by the military, the U.S. military, militaries around the world, and then also we supply boats for a number of police law enforcement agencies here in the U.S. and then also around the world. The posters are just nice examples of some of the models in action. Okay, Inspiration Alley. This is something that we have been putting together for the past couple of months. Inspiration Alley actually comes from our HR director. She thought that that would be fun and had the signs made up. What this for me represents is really the visualization of what is it that management is doing. The intent is to have more and more people understand what it is that's going on throughout the organization. So as Kirk is showing you, the SQDCM, the safety, quality, delivery, cost, morale metrics that we are using. And what this is really, this is the annual plan for Safe Boats. So let's, Kirk, if I can get you to back up, I'll walk you guys through this a little bit, and then we'll look at some of the other stuff also. On the quality side, for example, so what we've done is all of the management team has come through and defined what the quality metrics are for their particular department. What you see here is for the entire company. However, if you were to go into various areas, department managers, they would have this filtered just for their department. Each department has somewhere between 6 and 12 goals that they're trying to accomplish throughout the year. And again, this is all of it rolled up. They've qualified those into either safety, quality, delivery, cost, and morale. What we have found is that we were a bit aggressive last year when we put these out in December, and we are starting to try and scale that back. This is really the first time that we have done this type of annual planning process, and we were excited, but let's see what it is that we can do. The easiest way to read those is you don't have to read the details. Don't read the details, there are details. But nonetheless, what you can quite easily see is as the color coding that's associated with it, any areas of focus, here would be an area of focus that we're looking at. We review this with the entire management team on a monthly basis. and then with our CEO on a quarterly basis to make sure that we are staying on track. The other intention is that for any of the team members, as you'll see, we'll go out onto the shop floor, is that the team members themselves could come in here and ask, why are we doing something? Why is the company moving in this direction? And the intent is that we should be able to explain any decisions that are being made here. So it adds that level of transparency to the organization. The other part of it is there's a bit of peer pressure here. If I see that my peers are all green and I'm not, you know, maybe I got to do something there, right? Everybody understands what other departments are doing. It also allows for a lot of cross or understanding across the organization. If engineering is doing one project and manufacturing is doing another project, they should be aware of them and are they aligned? So it promotes a lot of alignment across the organization. Okay, so shifting from that, we'll probably have questions on that. Take you over to Kaizen events. We've been planning a number of those also. So part of my role is to plan the Kaizen events. So an annual calendar, you can see that it is slowly filling up. This is the March, what's planned in March. And then we use the situation at a glance. Many of you have probably seen these as A3s, is to basically scope out the event. And then what we do is we run the event as best we can in COVID times. And then we do have report outs and all of the supporting documentation that's behind that. But here, these are the past 3 events that we have run so far. I keep these up here so that people can also see what are some of the improvement events that we're doing. For me to keep all of this straight is I am starting to build an entire value stream map for safe boats and trying to understand, this is a bit dated. Every time I look at it, I add more onto it, but the intention is that we will map the entire flow of or order to cash flow by the end of the year, and then we'll continue to cycle through that. So a lot of process mapping has been going on at this point in time, identification of areas. So those have been the initial events here. We'll keep on going with that as we move forward. Moving over here a little bit, this is a large section of our morale, is the amount of training that team members have. So what you can see here is a list of all of the team members that we have within Safe Boats, with around 250, and the level of training. So this is one of the goals that HR has, is making sure that each team member has 20 hours of training annually. We have to track that somehow. So this is the methodology that we're going to use to track, to make sure that everybody is getting trained, keeping their skills up, whether it is welding skills, whether it's computer skills. And then we should be able to see as we go through the year is where do we need to reinforce our effort, okay? And then finally, where we started out here with the Inspiration Alley, this is our way of making sure that our management team is engaged with a lot of the shop floor, go to Gemba. Some of you might know this as Kamishibai. Instead of using the Japanese term, just red-green review board. And so every month, each of the managers, starting out with our CEO, through our entire management staff, is asked to go out into an area, whether it's reviewing the office area, the front parking lot, the tents that we have here, a pull test area, fab, weld, finish, all of the areas, and it rotates through. So it just keeps on going. Every month you have something different. There is standard work that's associated with it. So you would find for number 8, your weld walk, this would be the standard work that's associated with the walk itself, so that the management person goes out and has something to talk to the person about or the team members about. At the same point in time, the team member should not be intimidated that a manager is coming out there and talking to them, being able to show them what it is that they're engaging them about, and making sure that they are standardized questions. It shouldn't be a pop quiz. It should be like, I know what I'm going to get tested on. We can always update this form, but the hope is that our management staff engages much more with our team members in a non-threatening kind of way, but then also in a way that we can, again, have a continuous improvement. So the ideas that'll come off of this will again inspire additional Kaizen events, and hopefully it'll give freedom for team members to engage with management. So, all right, we've covered that. Let's go out. While you guys came, let's go take a look at some boats. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll start out in this area here. What I want to point out, this is our tier 3 board. So during COVID times, we used to have active management of this out on the shop floor. The team would meet here at 7:30 in the morning. There's tier 1 and tier 2 boards that happen between, we start at 5 o'clock in the morning. So between 5 and 6:30, there'd be the tier 1, tier 2, and then it rolls up to the tier 3 meetings here. The board is still being maintained. You can see that it is active today, and you can see where there's each one of these magnetic strips does represent, it didn't sink, it just fell off, each one of these represents a boat that is actively being worked on in the factory. One thing that I do want to point out about the population that works here, the banner that we have up there, if you can zoom in on or show that, is the number of veterans that we have working here at Safe Boats. Around 20% of our employees are veterans. Every service is represented here. And there's a lot of point of pride from the team members that are working here that we are actually supplying a product for the military and for the various services. A number of the people that we do have that actually test our boats, that are driving the boats, use the boats while they were in active service. So there's a lot of connection there with the product itself. And that's why people look to work here at Safe Boats, is because they do feel that connection here. So, okay, this is our meeting area, which has now been turned online. We do this all virtually in the morning, every morning, 7:30. A large section of the management team calls in for this meeting. So there's active participation there. All right, so let's look at some boats. The area that's in here is the electronics department that are being, or all of the electronics that are being put together for the boat are being put together in this area, and then they are integrated into the boat here. The boat that you see here, this we're not going to take too close of a look at these boats here. We are going to be able to climb up into this boat or the two boats over here. So let's take a look at what we have over here. Once a month, we do have lunch for the team members. So you're starting to see sweet and sour chicken, but looks like lunch went over pretty well today. You know, the team members are back at work. Let's go up and climb up the ladder and take a look at some of these boats. All right, Kirk, do you think you can come in onto the boat itself? All right. What you can see here is this boat just came out of the weld area. It's completely welded out, and you're starting to see that some of the panels, the doors are being integrated onto the boat. It's being built, but if you look inside, you can see that none of the electronics have yet been laid or put into the boat. So that's going to continue to develop. This boat is actually being worked on a night shift. For COVID, what we ended up doing is segmenting our work crews into three shifts. So we do have a day shift, we have an evening shift, and then we do have a weekend shift. So this is an evening shift boat. Nobody's working on it right now. They'll come on this evening and continue to work on it. But basically what you see here, the welded out hull of the boat, all of that does happen in the back, and we'll take a look at that in just a couple of minutes. But this is what it looks like when it comes out of the weld area. All right, we're gonna just jump across on the other side. Here you can start to see that the boat, as far as like the carpeting that's for sound deadening, is already in the boat, and you can start to see that some of the componentry is also being put into the boat. One of the things that's very hard to see is, the wires. If you take a look at the wiring, and the point of pride that the team members have is how well this is wired, how well the wires are exactly routed. The zip tying, the pride that goes into the workmanship here, that's what makes Safe Boat such a fantastic product. So when I first toured here and started to look around that, and I saw that every boat has that level of pride, that's not something that you can sort of teach. Something that just comes from the team members. A lot of pleasure working on these and making sure that it's being done right. So that's how I saw quality in the product, is routing of wires. It's fantastic around here. The welders are gonna beat me up a little bit, but take a look at the welds also, if you can, is the level of weld, the level of craftsmanship, and again, the level of pride that people have here. There is a lot of effort that is put into this. There's a lot of quality and care that's being put into these boats to make sure that we deliver a fantastic product every time. Okay, love to ask for some questions right now, but we'll have to hold off on a second. If I can get you to, just let me tie my shoe. Okay. One of the things that I would like to point out, the reason that Safe Boats, why is it a safe boat, is because of the collar system that's on that. I think that was in the flyer also. What you can see here on this boat right here, there is no collaring system in it right now, but then this exact same boat on this side, we do have the collar system already put into it. This is a flotation, or helps with it's a flotation device. These are the collars where Safe gets its original name from. All of the boats that we make do have the collars. They'll be in various colors, but again, that's what makes the boat so safe, if you will. All right, be careful walking down. Okay, we're not going to take too much of a look at this boat, but you can see that this boat is being more integrated. This is for one of the law enforcement agencies here in the U.S. But what you can see is what always impressed me with it is the power that's on these boats also. That's just a cool factor. When you have 350 horsepower and you have 4 of them on the back of the boat, these boats are incredibly fast. They are also incredibly maneuverable. I went out on a test ride on this, and if you're doing 45 knots across the water, they'll turn at 90 degrees. Incredible power, but then also incredible precision with these boats when they're being put into those different types of environments. That's exactly what you want. Yeah, it's just a neat product to be around. Okay. What we're gonna do now, Kirk, I'm gonna ask you not to look at the welding. If you see welding, don't look at the welding, it'll hurt your eyes. I think people on camera are gonna be safe. It is gonna be loud back here, so if I cut out a little bit, don't be surprised, okay? So let's go into weld. This here, you can see this is how a boat starts. So they basically just put the hole down right now, and they are starting to put the center line onto the bolt. There's a lot of the materials. We'll take a look at that.
is how these parts get put on to the boat, and they'll get welded into place one piece after another. The components of the boat. So this will be the house of the boat. So the house of the boat has already been welded together also. They're waiting for the hull to be finished, and then they'll take the house and they'll marry it on top of the hull. So you can see here also the hull in a separate stage. It's coming together more and more. The team members are inside the hull, putting it all together. Again, that point of pride, the welding that you see there, a lot of hard work that's going into this in order to make these boats the way that they are. One of the things that we do is we have to weld the bottom of the boat also. So what we do is we rotate the entire boat upside down. They'll continue to weld out the boat at that point in time. They'll flip it back up, and they'll continue to weld. Take a look inside one. Here you can see as the boat is getting mounted together or is being put together by the number of team members, what we have is we have a number of teams. Each one of these stalls will have a team of 5 or 6 people that will work on that boat. They'll also work on the house of the boat and put everything together. So you have one team that's responsible for putting the entire system together. Okay. All right. I didn't plan on the truck being here, but let's try and walk around it. That's where I want to go. Okay, a couple things. One, right now there's an aluminum delivery that's coming in. We're receiving deliveries on a daily basis. The aluminum plate will come in, much like the aluminum plate that you have here. We have a lifting mechanism. We'll take the aluminum plate and we'll put it onto the router tables. We'll take a look at that in a minute. We will cut one boat at a time at this point in time. The material then gets stored, or all the cut pieces, jigsaw puzzle pieces basically, will get stored. They'll get brought over to the weld area, and the weld team will put those together. What we are in the process of doing is we're starting to change that up a little bit, going to much more of a just-in-time methodology, where we will only cut parts as we need the parts. This is a slow changeover, but what that will allow us to do is to have to reduce the amount of storage space that we have inside, just because the pieces will come off the router table and move right into weld and not have to go through an interim step of being stored. So what you see here is quite often not just the raw plate, but you see individual boats that are about to be built. They're being stored also. We usually have 1 or 2 boats that are in the process of being cut before they go to weld. So we do have to store those. But again, that's something that we're going to try and change by going more and more to the just-in-time cutting. So let's take a look at the router table itself. Of course, neither of them are active right now. But what you can see here is the aluminum plate will get laid on. You have a traveling bridge of the router table, which will come in and cut the pieces, and then it also marks the pieces. We can actually take a look at that here. So this would be a finished piece that has just come off, and you can see that with the Sharpie, also the pieces are being marked individually so that the welders know exactly where to put a weld. What they'll do is they'll take this piece and then they'll put something else on top of it, and they'll basically weld exactly where the blue lines are. So we go through an incredible amount of Sharpies here, just making sure that we mark up all of the pieces, and that way we can label also which piece goes to which boat. All right. So not just the router, but we'll take a look at the presses that we have where we're bending some of those pieces also. Kirk, any questions from you at this point in time? You got to represent everybody. Watch yourself. Here you can see these are probably practice pieces. You can see some of the pieces. You can also see the different thicknesses of the aluminum that we do use throughout the boat, whether it is the hull of the boat or some of the house of the boat or any of the components. Again, they're going to be different size, making sure that it's appropriate for the strength that's needed. Once the pieces are cut, some of them will be redirected into this area here. You can see shaped pieces, such as this right here, or that. Each one of these pieces is, again, specific to a boat. So we will have somebody that is, again, making sure that as each individual piece moves through the factory, there's a lot of information flow that has to happen with that, not just the material, but which part is going to which boat at which point in time. And again, the more that we do that just in time, the more that we can manage that. So the ability to cut a piece, bend it, and then immediately bring it over to the weld without having to store it in between, a lot less material handling. So we're actively working on that. Great work being done by the fabrication department, making those switches. Okay, keep walking. Here again, you can see components that are specific for one boat. They're just waiting for the weld team to come pull this, and then they'll put this into probably a house. Looks like to me. Okay. What I'll do now is I'll just walk you right back up on the other side of the aisle. We'll take one last look at the boats, and I'll show you also what we're doing to upgrade the shop here. The big press that you saw in the back, you can actually see two presses. It's easier to see from here. The Cincinnati, that one was just installed in the past couple of months. So that's our newest press. We are constantly trying to upgrade the facility. And that happens through grants also that we're getting from government grants in order to keep us on the front of technology, really, when it comes to manufacturing processes. And I'll show you some of the other advancements that we're making in the shop. Did I give you a chance to ask a question?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
I don't have any questions.
All right. So one of the things that you can see here is those yellow arms. So what we are in the middle of doing is actually taking a lot of the weld machines. You can see the Miller weld machine on the shop floor is taking those machines and putting them up onto cantilevered arms so that we can swing those out over the boat. They're not all active yet, but that's another upgrade that we're doing to the factory right now. It eliminates a lot of the trip hazards on the floor and makes it a lot easier for the team members also to have the equipment that they need in the place that they need. So that is one thing, is how do we eliminate all of the moving up and down from the floor onto the boat? You can see it is quite tall at this point in time, and the climbing up and down, how can we eliminate those fall hazards? That's something that we're actively addressing. So these two boats right here, they are 44-foot boats. These are, you can call them sister boats. They're probably the largest boats that we can fit inside this building. We do have tents outside of this, right outside this main building, where we can do even larger boats. But right now, we brought these inside in order to be able to work on them. The factory is going to look different in another couple of months. We will rearrange the factory depending on the customer orders. So most of these stalls can handle a certain size of boat. And then as our customer orders change, we will change the factory to suit. Okay? These are 3 boats. That's all for one customer. Again, you can see it's just the cool factor. Again, I'll put it out there, is having this much horsepower on the end of the boat. But nonetheless, having 3 of them, you know, with their blue holes, kind of looks cool for us also. One thing that we do on a regular basis, or every morning, I talked about the tier system. This is the tier 1 board. These are the issues that we have on the boat. You can see the boat hull number, and then who's responsible for it, and any of the issues that are. That's something that the team members will bring down here. They can write on it throughout the day. The supervisors and managers will walk through. They'll collect this information, and they'll escalate it to the tier 3 meeting. And then the entire company will discuss it at the tier 3 meetings, depending on how it is. And then we also cascade information back down. Is if there are announcements, word travels pretty fast in a small company, but if there are specific announcements, we can then bring that back down to the tier meeting where the entire team is together in the morning when they're doing their morning stretches, so that everybody's informed and getting the information that they need, ability to escalate information, and then also push information into the organization. Okay. Okay, that was kind of a whirlwind tour of the Safe Boats factory. Let's take it back inside my office and I'll see if I can't answer some questions. One thing that I do want to point out as we're standing here is what you can see up there across that is the engineering department. So whenever there's an issue, pretty quick communication between the teams. The supervisory office are right here. Supervisors out onto the shop floor very quickly, very responsive. And then if there is an engineering issue or an engineering question, again, the engineering team many of them are working from home. But again, what the engineering team has done is they've staggered their the number of people that they have in-house. So there's always representation from that team in order to come down, answer any kind of questions that somebody might have, and again, have that immediate response so that the customer delivery date, that's something that everybody takes extremely seriously here, making sure that we can get the customers their boats as promised. All right. All righty.
Well, look off the earphones.
Okay.
Okay. Close the door. All right, so we're off the AirPods now.
So I think what I'm going to do is call on each person and let them ask their questions. That way, if you have a follow-up question after that. So first, really quick, are you in Bremerton right now, or is this Tacoma?
No, this is the Bremerton facility. So headquarters for Safe Boats is in Bremerton. There has been a lot of media activity about our Tacoma facility. The large boats, the Mark 6, the one that you see behind me, that's an 85-foot boat. That does not fit into the Bremerton facility. We had built several of those for the U.S. Navy a couple of years ago. And now there's also been publicized that we're in the process of selling these to the Ukraine also. That facility is down in Tacoma, and we are in the process of revamping that facility, bringing it back up online. So that's probably what you've seen in the newspapers or heard quite a bit about. And that's ongoing. There's a number of people who've been hired specifically for that. And throughout the year, that facility will be coming back up online in order to start delivering boats for that contract.
Okay. Can we get Kirk to come just a little bit closer to you? I'm having a little trouble hearing you.
Sound is bad.
Okay.
Now, I don't know. Do you want to go back to the maybe go back to the iPods again to your?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Yeah, I think that way it'll keep the sound quality good.
Okay.
Okay. And then the first person that brought in a question was Steve Bishop. Are you here, Steve? You want to come off? Okay.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. I had two questions. The first one was, do you have like a minimum production quantity that you need to make to justify your design costs? And also whether or not the company has any plans for robotic welding in the future?
For the first question, minimum order quantity is 1. There's a number of boats that we make where the customer will come in and they will order 1 at a time. A small town, for example, they might only be able to afford 1 boat if it's a local police department. So we do regularly build just one of a kind for the boat. It's based on a standardized boat. However, it can be customized the way that the customer wants, and our sales department will actively work with them to make sure that they're able to get the best boat that they can for the budget that they have. On the flip side of that, though, we do have a number of contracts where for the U.S. Navy, they've been buying boats. They've bought several hundred of one type of boat also. And that's been over multiple years where we will build one type of boat for them. So it runs the gamut for us, really. The other question that you had is robotic welding. That is something that is, we will take a look at it. However, the experience that I've had, this is actually through another company, is because of the changes that we're always making, even though it might be one standard boat, or standard size boat, the interior components for that boat will change quite a bit. Lockers that we will put in place, or types of amenities that people are asking for. So trying to reprogram a robotic welder in order to handle that constant change at this point in time is prohibitive. However, if we can find certain areas where it would make sense, it's certainly something that we would explore. Currently, we don't have any robotic technology.
Thank you.
Okay. Mike Lopez from Out of the Box.
Yeah, hey, thank you so much for hosting this virtual tour. What an amazing plant you have. I have a question regarding output. So is there a common amount of boats that you output per week or per month, or is that not a factor in your tracking?
I can't go so far as to say not a factor. It is something that we obviously track. It depends a lot on the orders that we have. It depends on the size of the boat that we are making. If somebody's asking for a 25-foot boat, that takes a lot less time for us to produce. As opposed to a 44-foot boat, just the sheer volume. And then also usually when the boats get larger, the amount of complexity, the amount of technology that we can put into the boat, that takes quite a bit of time. So it will fluctuate quite a bit, what we are producing on a weekly basis. For me, from a tack time perspective, tack time becomes exceedingly difficult there. If we have a program boat, like I said, if we have something for the Navy where they're asking for 1 or 2 a month, that's where we could apply some of those lean standards. But for having attack time and then having strong cycle times, we're just not, it's not a repetitive operation. However, we do estimate the amount of hours, and we certainly track the plan versus actual hours. That's part of the bid, of course. So based on the experience of the team, the type of boat that they've built before, we know exactly, not exactly, well, we know plus or minus 5–6% how close we are going to be to the actual hours that are needed.
Wow. My other question, thank you for answering that. My other question would be for the electronic side. Out of the box is a contract manufacturer, and we do custom electronics assembly. And so I was wondering, does Safe Boats have engineers that they use to build custom Safe Boats electronics, or is everything pretty much bought off the shelf?
My understanding is that the gear that we buy is off the shelf. So the routing of the wires, how do we connect all of these pieces of equipment? That is something that is done in-house, the wiring diagrams. However, the electronics themselves, you've heard of them, Garmin, Fleur, any of those large names, Bremerton, they make the components, and then the customer buys those components, and we integrate those components into the boats. Everything from police radios to the blue bars, the electronic light bars that are on there. The various, all the systems, we purchase those, we wire them in, make sure that they work together. That's something that we have expertise in, making sure that one component from one company is able to integrate with another component from another company. And that's, again, an understanding through the sales process of making sure that if a customer is asking for this, can that be integrated with that? That's something that we would work through.
Understand completely. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay, next we have Matt Smith from Economic Alliance of Snohomish County. Are you here, Matt?
Yeah. Where do you source your aluminum sheet from? How far is it traveling?
It is a local supplier that we have here. The deliveries are being made. Let's see, we will order, I mean, if we order in the afternoon, we will receive in the morning. So again, it's a local supplier who does an exceptional job based on what boats that we are planning to build. They will know that ahead of time. And then they will deliver the sizes and the sheets, the thicknesses that we need on an as-needed basis. So our fab supervisor usually puts in an order. I believe he puts in an order on Tuesday, and he will receive on Wednesday. So quick turnaround time there, which certainly helps as we're going to start to push more and more into this just-in-time cutting. Is getting these deliveries dialed in even tighter. It'll be something that'll help us save floor space.
Got it. As you know, Intalco closed their facility up at Ferndale last year. Do you know where the mill is for that aluminum sheet that you're getting?
No, I'm sorry, I don't. I could find out and ask. I don't have that off the top of my head.
All right, thank you.
Okay, we have a question from one of our guests today, Rosemary Brester from Hobart Machine Products. Are you here, Rosemary?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can, yes.
Oh, perfect. What a wonderful tour. Thank you so much. And really appreciate what you do for the people that keep us safe. So appreciate that. But my question is, I have a granddaughter who's taking welding over in Bremerton, and I'm wondering if you're having a difficult time finding good welders and where you source them from?
The welders, that's a constant struggle. The welders that we do have here are extremely experienced, but we do hire in level 1 welders. There's a lot of training that happens here. The welders do progress up through a level 5. Most of the welders, it's just a geographic radius. How far is a welder willing to drive in order to show up at the shop at 5 o'clock in the morning? So these people, I don't want to say that it's easy, but most of the welders are sourced here in the immediate area. There are job openings, I know currently. Please have your granddaughter, I believe, go to the Safe Boats website. There's a number of applications or apply through there. We are always looking for qualified and talented people.
Perfect. I will let her know that. Thank you, because she lives in Bremerton, so she's close.
It should be, yeah. I mean, that's a 10-minute ride up here. So please have her take a look at our website and the jobs that are open right now, and have her keep on checking back. I mean, we are in a nice position right now with Tacoma opening up this year. There is a spirit of expansion that's here, which is a really nice place to be.
It is. Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay, we have a new council member, Custom Interface, and Jeff Lemley has a question. Are you here, Jeff?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I can hear you. Yeah, please.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you very much for the tour. I kind of had a question regarding electronics. I know you answered some of it in responding to Mike Lopez's question. But one additional thing I wanted to know, we're a wire and cable house that specializes mostly in aerospace industry, but we have dabbled into some of the IP68 connectors that go for ocean-going vessels and ocean-going systems for drones and such. I was wondering what ISO standard you guys necessarily do your wiring to, if there's a particular standard the wire manufacturer should adhere to when looking to get into the marine industry.
I wish I could tell you that. I don't have the details on what ISO standard that we meet, but we can certainly connect after this individually, and I can research that for you and find that information out. So there is obviously the standard, as we have a lot of government contract, the requirements are there. I just don't know those off the top of my head.
Oh yeah, we can touch base later. That'd be great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Yep.
Okay. Now I've got Sterlitech. We have Chase Krieger.
Yep, Chase
All
Krieger.
right.
Yeah, I was just curious how your parts are being tracked as they move around your facility, and if that's all electronic or if there's marking being done.
There is marking being done. It is one of the challenges that we do have. The parts themselves, as they're coming off of the router, you're able to see that there's blue Sharpie marker where the part is being identified. But it is a challenge for us. The more that we have to store the parts for the boats, the easier it is for us to lose track, but that's actively being managed. We do measure, it's just like the number of parts that we have to recut specifically for that. We do not have an electronic, like a scanning mechanism or any kind of labeling mechanism where it is by the part number is exactly identified and a routing. That is something that we have as far as the plan for every part, understanding how it moves through the factory. That's something that we are looking at. But again, by being able to reduce and go more to a just-in-time cutting system, the fewer parts that we have in circulation, the easier it is for us to track those. A challenge for us. You did see some of the carts that we have out there. What the guys will do is once the part comes off of the router table, they will put it onto a specific cart that is just for that boat. And then that cart will be pushed into that weld station where those parts are used. So it's by boat at this point in time.
Okay, great, thank you.
Okay, that's all the questions I'm seeing in the chat. Does anyone have any other questions?
Yeah, Stacy, I do. This is Matt Smith again.
Okay.
In the world of aerospace, the customer buys the engines. So in your world, are you supplying the boat with the motors attached, or the customer specs those and tells you which to buy?
The customer will spec which engine it is that they want. So for example, those Mercury 350s that we saw out there, those will be sold as part of the boat. We will buy those for the customer, and then we will mount those onto the boat. Each boat that leaves the factory has to go through an in-service test first. So we will take it down to the water. You'll quite often see, if you're near Bremerton, you'll see the safe boats basically going through its paces. Top speed tests, the cornering tests, all of that. And what's evaluated there is to make sure that the engine is properly placed, that the engine heights are correct, that there's no overspray that's coming off of the engines. So we do tune the engine to make sure that it properly fits each boat. Remember that every boat that we build, since the customer can spec out different componentry on it, the weighting of the boat can change, right? So if there's more that's in the back of the boat or in the front of the boat, it does change the orientation of the boat in the water. So making sure that the engines are appropriately mounted to make sure that they can take care of that specific configuration is something that's important to us. So long answer to your questions. We buy the engines, we put them on, and then when the boat is delivered, we will also offer training for that boat to the crew, give technical guidance on that, and we do service those boats also for any of the issues. Okay, the awkward silence.
Oh, sorry.
No worries.
Anybody else have a question? All right, I think that's it. I just want to say thank you, Dirk. This was really great.
No, thank you. I appreciate everybody taking the time to come out and take a look at Safe Boats. I know that it's a quick tour, but hopefully you got a little bit more excited about the product. Very cool product. Again, where it goes into service, it's a great point of pride for the people that are here. And from what the customers, they really like our products also. A lot of repeat customers that keep coming back. So we are thrilled to be able to provide, especially for the law enforcement and the military, not just here in the US, but in a number of countries. So really quite a pleasure for me to work here and to give you guys this tour. Thank you.